Okay, so we are going to be starting today in a seated position. Before you get there, if you have access to some sort of strap or small, and also a small cushion or block, you might want to grab that and have it handy. I have a firm pillow here, and I actually have a yoga strap, but you can use a men's necktie or any sort of thing. And we will be using more, I'll be offering more options with the strap than I will with the pillow, and you can take them as you wish. So coming to any sort of seated, comfortable position, it can be easy seated position, or if it's available in your hips, knees, and ankles, you might want to try a half lotus or even a full lotus if that's in your practice. We are going to be covering the Niyama Svadhyaya today, which means self-study. And this is actually the pose, this lotus pose is actually the pose that goes along with that Niyama. I will also offer you the mudra that we can start our centering with, which is the meditation mudra. And it's just opening up both palms, resting the back of the right palm on top of the left, and then letting the thumbs gently touch, and then just holding them right about navel level so you can still gently lower the shoulders away from the ears. If the mudra doesn't work for you, palms down on your legs, hands heart center, any of the above is totally fine. So once you have yourself settled, then go ahead and close your eyes and start to notice your breath. Just gentle inhales in through the nose and exhales out through the nose. And that's if that's available to you. If your nose isn't working, then of course, in and out through your mouth, a lengthened inhale and lengthened exhale. And as much as is available to you, keep your attention right here, right now. So any thoughts of the future, any thoughts from the past, they'll probably try to crowd in. You can acknowledge them and then just gently let them go on their way. I mentioned that we will be focusing on the Niyama Svadhyaya today. So it means self-study, which means taking that idea of self-awareness a little bit deeper, doing more self-examination to know what it is that moves you, what your passion is, what your purpose is, what you bring to the world. And it can be the study of our physical self, it can be the study of our energetic self. And it's starting to be aware of all that you do, that we do, that makes us who we are, and if that fulfills our purpose. So as you move through the sequence today, notice if there's poses where you are pushing too much, if there's poses where maybe you could go a little bit deeper, and notice how that settles in your mind. Drawing the breath in a little bit deeper now, softening the abdomen, relaxing the muscles around the side ribs, relaxing the muscles in the front and back of the neck, and the jaw and the tongue. This self-study can even come from that very familiar phrase that warns us to watch our thoughts, because our thoughts become words, to watch our words because our words become actions, to watch our actions because those become habits, to watch our habits because those become our beliefs, and to watch our beliefs because that becomes our character. Taking about 2, maybe 3 more full cycles of inhales and exhales at your pace. Fully softening and expanding the belly on the inhale, and then completely deflating the belly on the exhale. When you've finished your final cycle, if you have the mudra, gently release it. Allow the palms to land palm down on the legs. And for the initial warm-up phase, if you want, you can work from closed eyes if that's comfortable for you. Or maybe you start to blink your eyes open. And on your inhale, reach the arms up. And then as you exhale, lower the right hand to the right hip, left hand comes to the outside of the right knee, and just start to take a gentle twist towards the right. Moving the right shoulder back in space as you move the left shoulder towards the right. Hold there for 1 more breath. And then inhale, reach both arms up again, and then exhale. This time you twist over to the left, so the left hand lands by the left hip, the right hand comes to the outside of the left knee, and then just gently twisting. Starting off this first round, just to start to wake up and warm up the spine. We'll do this 1 more time and go just a little bit deeper. So on your next inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, we're going to twist again to the right. This time, see if you can bring that right hand maybe all the way back towards your tailbone. And then as you twist just a little bit deeper, maybe the chin comes towards the right shoulder. But think about using this left hand as leverage on the knee so that you can start to open up and feel an opening across the upper back and left shoulder. Take 1 more breath here. And then inhale, reach the arms up. And exhale, twist over to the left. So now this time you're going to do that same thing on this side, opening up across the upper back on the right side. Take another breath and exhale. And then as you inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, you can plant your palms in front of you, or you can move your hands to the side to swing your legs around. I'm going to roll over my knees. If that's not appropriate for you, swing your legs around to the side. And we're going to just come forward, pass through tabletop. And then as you exhale, widen your knees. Let your toes touch maybe behind you as you start to lower your hips towards your heels, and then lower your forehead down towards the floor. As you do, start to see if walking your fingers forward is appropriate. As you walk the fingers forward, you're pulling the shoulder blades down towards the back waist. Hold here for a cycle of breath. And then as you inhale, lift the head and start to lift the hips up off the heels, coming back again into tabletop. This time, walk the knees closely together. You can have the toenail side of the foot down, or you can tuck the toes into the mat, whichever works better for you. And we're going to start to walk the hands all the way back towards the knees. So now you're in this kind of crouching, kneeling position. And think about trying to move the elbows towards each other. Now, different bodies, different skeletons are going to have different shapes in this. What we're attempting to do is warm up our wrists and our shoulders. So you're going to start to bend your elbows, squeezing the forearms towards the thighs, and maybe lowering the chest down towards the upper arms. It's going to look different in everybody. Once you kind of land your torso and your arms as they are, then go ahead and lower the top of your head towards the floor. It may not touch the floor, and that's okay. If it does, you're just gently resting the crown of the head on the floor. Take another cycle of breath here. And then inhale, lift up. Walk back into tabletop. Take an inhale, drop the belly, lift the tail, lift the chin into cow pose. And then as you exhale, round the mid back and upper back towards the ceiling, tucking the tail, tucking the chin in angry cat. Inhale again back to neutral spine. This time you're going to flip the fingers so that either the fingers point out to the sides of the mat, maybe you point to the back corners, maybe you flip them all the way around so the fingers point towards the knees, and then do that cat and cow again one more time. So inhale, lift the tail, lift the chin, exhale into angry cat, pressing the palms into the floor, pressing from the tops of the knees, and then inhale right back into center. Flip the palms around, facing front. Toes are tucked in. Maybe you move the knees apart a few inches. You're going to take an inhale here to prepare and float the knees up. And we're going to hold here for 10 seconds, which is probably about one fully lengthened inhale and lengthened exhale. And then you lower the knees down. Untuck the toes. So now the shoelace side of the foot is down on the floor. And we're going to do that one more time. You're going to press into the shins, the top of the ankle, and the top of the foot. If that's not a fit for you, you just come right back to the tucked toes. Take an inhale, float the knees, and we're going to hold here again. That lengthened full inhale, attention resting on the breath. Complete your exhale, and then gently lower the knees down. Nice. Moving your hands forward into those nice wide starfish, plugging the base of the pointer finger, base of the thumb in. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, float the hips up, and you're coming into your first down dog. We're going to play around in this down dog for a little bit. Start to, again, warm up the hips, warm up the spine. You can pedal the feet if that's comfortable for you. Maybe you want to shift the hips side to side, whatever works for you. And as I offer you these different down dog variations, you are always welcome to come back to the tabletop and follow the variation in a similar manner from tabletop. So we're going to start first. Either you hang out right here in down dog, or you're going to inhale and come all the way up to your tippy toes, nice deep bend in the knees. And then notice how that helps you gain control of your pelvis. And you can really tilt those sits bones up to the ceiling. And then start to lengthen the legs from there. Maybe they don't come all the way straight, and that's fine. But then as you exhale, start to pivot your feet so the heels land over towards the right and then land them down on the floor. Trying to keep equal weight in both palms, and notice how you can feel a lengthened and deepened stretch from the left armpit to the left hip. Take an inhale, float those heels, come all the way up to tippy toe, pass through center, and then exhale, drop the heels to the left. Really lift the tail up to the ceiling and feel the opening from the right armpit to the right hip. Inhale up into tippy toe down dog, and then exhale and rest here. Again, coming through and resting in tabletop is always a perfect variation if that fits for you. I'm going to show the next option from tabletop first, and then we will go into down dog if you want to follow there. You're going to inhale, release the right hand. You can bring it right to the center of the mat, or what we're going to do is start to do a little bit more shoulder opener. So maybe you can reach between your legs. You're going to soften that left elbow to start and see if you can either grab your left heel, left ankle, or maybe just the back of the left calf. And then from there, start to pull that right shoulder up. So now we're opening up that right shoulder here. If you can grab all the way back to the heel, maybe the toes are tucked in and you're feeling that lengthening there. If you're in down dog, you're going to do a similar. Taking an inhale to release the right hand, it comes back to the left calf, ankle, or heel, and then bring your gaze under your left upper arm. Whichever variation you're in, let's take 2 more cycles of breath here. Noticing that you're trying to keep those hips parallel to the floor, and then exhale, release the right hand. Inhale, release the left hand, bring it either to center from tabletop or from down dog. You're going to bring that left hand between your legs and then start to slide it down that right calf, ankle, or heel, centering the hips again, and then gaze under the right arm if you're in down dog. And then exhale, release, bring the hand back, take an inhale and an exhale cycle here in down dog, noticing if it's available for you to lengthen the legs a bit more than when we started. Inhale to bring your gaze to the hands. You can step, walk, or take a significant bend in the knees and hop up behind your palms. Landing in forward fold. Exhale, let the head hang heavy. Inhale, press the palms into your shins, extend the spine long. Exhale, release, let the arms dangle. And then inhale, press the feet into the floor to lift the torso all the way up to the ceiling. And then hands together at heart center and come into standing, equal standing pose. Feeling the floor, feeling the mat under your feet, feeling an equal amount of weight between both feet. Inhale, blink the eyes open, reach the arms up. Exhale, you're going to bring the right hand behind your neck or between your shoulder blades, and then the left hand lands on the right elbow. Now you're welcome to stay right here, or you can release that left hand, swing it all the way back around behind you, and then maybe see if your fingertips can touch, or you can grasp fingers, or if you have your strap handy, this is where you would put the strap in the right hand and grasp with the left. Whichever variation you are in, you're going to take one more inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, you're going to side bend over to the left. Keep your right foot grounded, and then feel that opening from the right elbow all the way down, maybe past the right hip to the knee. Take an inhale, lift up, extend the arms long, and then exhale, hinge forward from the hips, soft bend in the knees, and come into forward fold. Inhale and half lift. Exhale, bring the hands down to the mat, step or hop your feet all the way back, either into full plank or lowering the knees down into modified plank. Taking another breath here, and then exhale, lower through chaturanga, and then inhale. Let's keep it in a baby cobra to start. Tuck the toes into the mat on an inhale. Exhale, press the mat away, lift the hips up, downward facing dog. I'm going to offer a flip dog variation. If you know that's not what you are choosing for today, you can come to tabletop, and when we offer the three-legged dog, you're just going to extend the leg back behind you. If you want to do a flip into reverse tabletop, then from the extended leg, you're going to pivot around and come into a reverse tabletop from there. If you would like to do it from three-legged dog, you're going to inhale, extend that right leg up and long, bend the right knee so that you start to have the weight of the right foot pull you around and over, and then lifting the hips up to the ceiling, extending the right arm above the head. Take another breath here, and then exhale, gaze comes back. You're going to use the weight of the right hand to pull you back around into three-legged dog. If you're in tabletop, you can, from there, shift your hips forward. Down dog, you're going to come forward either into a three-legged, three-point plank or into a full plank. If you choose, you can lower the knees. Hold here for one more breath. And then you're going to move your right hand to the center of the mat. You're going to lower the right knee to the center of the mat, and you're going to pivot on that knee to open your body to the left edge of the mat. Reach the left arm up to the ceiling. You can stay here in this modified side plank, or if you choose, you can slide that right foot under the left into full side plank. If you want, maybe you reach the left arm long. One breath here. And then exhale, pivot around, come back into full plank. Take a breath here. And then on your next exhale, you can step that right foot up to where the right hand was. Now, maybe it's better for you to lift your hips into a variation of down dog to do so, or maybe you lower your knees and step forward from tabletop. Either way, we all land in low lunge. Now, from your low lunge, you're going to want to check what's happening back here with the pelvis. So lift up on that left hip so the pelvis stays parallel to the mat, and see if you can tuck that right hip and outer thigh towards the midline. Take another breath here, and then exhale, lower the back knee down, untuck the toes, inhale, float the torso up. You can bring your hands to that front thigh, or you can inhale, reach the hands up and come into low crescent lunge. Gaze can be at the fingers, or maybe the gaze comes to where the wall meets the floor. Take another cycle of breath here, and then exhale, lower the hands to frame the front foot. Starting to shift those hips back, extending that front leg, shoot the heel forward, and then extend the leg with the toes up to the ceiling. You are bringing the sternum forward towards the toes with a lengthened spine. Think about having about a grapefruit under your chin to keep that cervical spine in line. You can stay right here, or you can inhale again. And as you exhale, maybe you round over that front leg. You can stay in half splits if you've been working towards extending those half splits longer or coming all the way into full splits. This is where you would take those 2 to 3 breaths and move the front leg forward, move the back leg back, and then keeping strength in the upper body coming into full splits. If you have a block, a cushion handy, and you want to place it under that right thigh or hip, go ahead, take another cycle of breath. And then you're going to start to slide the right leg back, move the left foot forward until you come into the low lunge variation again. We're just going to pass through that. You're going to come to the toes of the back foot, float the back knee, and then pivot that back foot down so that the toes are pointing out at about 10 o'clock on the clock face. Hands come to the hips. Inhale, lift the torso, and you come right up into warrior one. Setting up your foundation first, you're wanting to have your feet on 2 railroad tracks probably, with the front toes softened so you can lift the toes up, they're not gripping the floor, and then the same thing with the back toes. Think about pulling that right hip back in space as you move the left hip forward, and your hips sink down, not forward. Inhale to reach the arms up in warrior one. Shoulders out of the ears, breath smooth and even. Take an inhale here. Exhale to swing the arms back around behind you, interlace the fingers together, and then pull those knuckles down the back thigh, opening up the shoulders and the chest. We're going to move into humble warrior, so you're going to take an inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, you're going to hinge forward from the hips, just like in forward fold, and move the torso towards that front thigh. Maybe you hang out here. Maybe your hips are happy enough for you to move into a deeper version with the shoulder inside the knee. And then if you choose, maybe your hands float off the tail. Take another breath here. And then as you exhale, release the hands, frame the front foot, and then start to toe heel that right foot towards the center of your mat. Now, if you want to try the strap for a bind version in our next options, you're going to want to have that strap handy to grab with your left hand. You're going to move that left foot back so that it becomes parallel, the outer arch becomes parallel to the long edge or short edge of the mat. And then take an inhale, lift the right forearm up to the right thigh. So now we're in a variation of extended side angle. Left hand is on the hip to start. If you wish, you can lift that left hand up to the ceiling. If you would like, maybe the left arm reaches over the left ear and you are in a long straight line from the left hand down to the left ankle. Any of those variations are extended side angle. You can stay with them. If you would like to give the bind a try and you have a strap handy, you're going to grab that strap and then lower the left forearm across the low back. Next variation, reach that right hand underneath the right thigh, grab the strap, and then you can still rest the forearm if you want. If you want to go a little bit deeper, you can pull deeper on the strap, or maybe you reach around to grasp fingertips and then open the chest up to the left. Hold here for one more breath. Now, whichever variation you're in, we're going to take that step forward to the top of the mat like we did last week. You can do it with the elbow on the thigh or the bind. You're going to bring the gaze to that front foot and then start to toe heel the left foot forward, stepping it up all the way to the top of the mat so that your feet come together. We're going to go into a balancing pose. So if you have the bind, bring your weight into the left foot. You're going to inhale, press into that left foot, start to float the right toes off the mat. Maybe they hover, maybe you start to come all the way up to standing, and then maybe you start to extend that right leg long in bird of paradise, lifting the sternum. Now, if you have your right elbow on top of the right thigh and you're not going to do the bind, your next option is to bring that left hand behind the right thigh, start to lift up and come into one-legged mountain. Whichever variation, you're going to take one more cycle of breath here and then exhale, either unbind or not, and lower the right foot down to the top of the mat. Bring the hands together at heart center. Take a restorative cycle of breath. Nice. And then exhale, release the hands. We're going to offer another few variations on a balance pose. This time your right foot is your supporting leg. You're going to hover the left toes. Maybe you start to pull the left leg now all the way up into one-legged mountain. If so, you're going to think about pulling that knee all the way up towards the armpit, maybe even grasping the bottom of the left foot. Next, you can hang out right here. Next variation is to bring that left heel over towards the right hip crease and let that left knee float down towards the ground. You're going to hold maybe the ankle with the right hand. Another option is to bring that left arm around and grasp the right elbow, and you are now in a standing pigeon variation. And then the last option, whichever variation you are in, release that right hand. If you're in a one-legged mountain, you're going to lower that foot down to the floor and come into forward fold. If you're in the standing pigeon, you're going to lower the hands and come into forward fold here. Big transition here if you are in the balance pose. If you're in forward fold, you can keep your hands on the mat. If you're not, you're going to release that foot and then swing the left foot all the way back to the back edge of your mat. Ball mound of the foot is into the mat, and then inhale, lift the torso, lift the arms, high crescent lunge. Think about pulling back on the right hip, moving the left hip forward, and then dropping the tail straight down. So you're turning maybe doing a little bit of an anterior tilt to the pelvis, that may cause that back knee to bend, and that's fine. You can keep your hands up if you would like. We can come back into that meditation mudra, right hand on top of the left, thumbs touching, shoulders melting away from the ears. Take another inhale here. And then as you exhale, release the hands, drop them down inside the front foot. Start to shift that back foot back in space, and you are now in lizard. Now, if you want to stay here in lizard, you can either do it with your palms on the ground, or you can lower down to your elbows. If you would like to go into the arm balance, you're going to bring the right hand behind the right heel. Left hand is going to mirror it. Forearms are parallel, elbows are bent, and then shifting so that you can land the right hamstring and hip on the back of the right upper arm, and the left pelvis point on the back of the left arm. Start to move that right leg out, and then teeter-totter down and come into your 8-limb balance. And then everybody inhales to push back up, swinging the right leg around, coming into tabletop, walking the hands forward, tucking the toes in, take an inhale to prepare, and then exhale, downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And then inhale, gaze to your hands, soften the knees, step, hop, or walk forward and come into forward fold on your exhale. Inhale to extend the spine, lengthen it out. Exhale, forward fold. Press the feet into the floor. Inhale, lift the torso, reach the arms up. And then this time, as you exhale, bring that left hand back behind you, either to the neck or shoulder blades. If you have a strap and you want to use it, put it in the left hand. Right hand can either grasp that left elbow and pull it over, or the right hand swings back around, reaches up, and get fingertips to fingertips. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, side bend over to the right. Feel the opening from the left elbow down to the left hip, and bring the gaze maybe under that left upper arm. Inhale to reach up, release the grasp, and then exhale, soften the knees, hinge forward from the hips, and forward fold. Inhale, extend the spine. Exhale, forward fold, deep bend in the knees, bring the hands to the mat, step, walk, or hop, all the way back either into full plank or lowering the knees down into modified plank. Take an inhale to prepare. Exhale, squeeze the elbows in, lower down into chaturanga. Inhale, either again repeating that baby cobra or extending the arms long, lifting up into high cobra. Tucking the toes, exhale, float the hips, downward dog. From here, you have those same variations as we did on the other side. If you want to work from tabletop, remember that's your option. If you would like to do it from downward facing dog, you're going to release the left leg this time. Inhale to float it up, maybe all the way up, pointing the toes to the ceiling. Maybe bending that left knee. If you want to come into flip dog, you're going to let that left foot pull you over. Left hand releases, lifting the hips up, either left hand to the ceiling or left hand above the head. Take an inhale here, and then exhale, gaze comes to the mat, weight of the left hand pulls you back around, you pivot on that right foot, and then either from tabletop or from down dog, shifting the hips forward either into full plank, 3-point plank, or modified plank. Hold here for another breath. And then exhale, lower the left knee to the center of the mat. Left hand comes to the center. Inhale to pivot over, opening up the body towards the right side and lifting the right arm up into modified side plank. Holding here if you prefer, or releasing that left knee to bring the foot under the right foot, and maybe that right arm extends long. One more breath. Exhale, gaze to the mat, bring both hands down, full plank here. And then exhale, you're going to pull that left knee forward, step up into low lunge. Lowering the back knee down. You know what, let's fix our pelvis first. So this time, forearm across the pelvis. Think about lifting up on that right hip and tucking the left outer thigh and hip towards midline. Core is engaged. And then now, lower that back knee down. Untuck the toes. Inhale, lift the hands, either hands coming to the front thigh or reaching up, hands to the ceiling in low crescent lunge. One more inhale here. And then exhale, frame the front leg, shift the hips back, start to extend that front leg long. And then maybe you move that heel forward so that you can pull the toes towards the sternum, reaching the sternum towards the toes, shoulders and shoulder blades move down and back. Take an inhale here. Exhale, round the spine, half splits. Same as on the other side. If you have your blocker cushion handy and you want to use that to extend your splits longer, go ahead and stick it under that left thigh and hamstring. If you don't want to extend the splits, you're going to hang out right there in half splits. If you are extending your splits, you are using muscle strength, not just dropping into it. So taking another breath here, whichever variation you're in, and then inhale, pull that right foot forward, pull the left foot back, and come into your variation of low lunge again. Tucking the back toes into the mat, inhale to float the back knee up, and then allow that back foot to turn out at about 30 degrees so that the toes are pointing towards 2 o'clock. Inhale the hands to the hips, float the torso up, and let's set up the foundation for warrior one on this side. So your feet are your foundation, feeling both the inner arch and outer arch of both feet secure to the floor, but the toes are soft. Your right hip moving forward, the left hip moving back, tail moving straight down. Take an inhale, reach the arms up, warrior one. Shoulders down. Inhale again. Exhale to swing those hands around back behind you. Interlace the fingers if that's available, maybe even interlacing them in the manner that feels more awkward. And then pull the knuckles down that back thigh, lifting the sternum. You're welcome to stay here or exhale, hinge forward from the hips, either pausing, keeping the belly off the front thigh, but pausing there if that's better for you, or moving all the way forward if your hips are happy with you moving the left shoulder inside the left knee, gazing back towards the right ankle. Take another breath. Exhale to release the hands, frame the front foot. Come to the ball of the back foot so you can shift the left foot towards the center of the mat. And then you're going to allow that back foot now to come down so the back, the outer edge of the foot is parallel to the back edge of the mat. Left forearm to left thigh. Inhale the right hand to the right hip, opening the chest to the right side of the mat. So you're welcome to stay here. If you want to continue on to other variations of extended side angle, you're going to inhale, reach the right arm high. Or as you exhale, maybe the right arm comes over the ear. Strong straight line from the wrist to the ankle on the right side. Now, if you want to go into any variations of bind, you're going to exhale, drop that right hand back behind you so that the forearm is across the low back. If you have a strap and you want to use it, strap comes now into the right hand, and then the left hand would reach underneath, grab the strap, opening the chest again to the side of the room. If you do not want or need the strap, that's where your hands then bind. Take another cycle of breath in whichever variation you have chosen. And then exhale, bring your gaze down to your front foot. Start to walk your back foot forward, either just toe heeling or maybe you're stepping. If you have your forearm resting on the thigh, you are now into a variation of forward fold from here. Now, either way, we're going to come into a balancing pose. So now your weight is in your right foot, and you're going to start to just gently float the left foot, inhaling to press in to the right foot, lift the torso up, and come into birds of paradise. Now, if you're in here with the hand, the forearm on there, you're just going to reach the hands under, lift up, coming into one-legged mountain. Whichever variation you are in, hold there for 1 to 2 more cycles of breath. And then when you're ready, exhale, release the bind, lower the leg, come into equal standing pose. Maybe close your eyes and feel the body. On your next exhale, releasing the hands, blinking the eyes open if they're closed. And now, this time, your left foot is your foundation. Your right foot is going to come up. You can either hold on behind the thigh and hang out right here in your one-legged mountain on this side. If your low back and your hips are happy with it, maybe you start to move that knee up towards the right armpit and shoulder. And then grabbing the outer arch of that right foot with the left hand, maybe you land that heel and outer arch into the left hip crease as the right knee starts to point down. If you're in this variation and you want to add the half bind, you're going to bring that right hand back behind and get to the left elbow. Either from one-legged mountain or from here, you're going to exhale and then release the hand. One-legged mountain, your right foot's going to come down. Standing pigeon, you're going to lower down over that knee. Either way, you're coming into a forward fold. Take another inhale here. Exhale, standing pigeon or forward fold. You're going to lift that right leg, step the right foot all the way to the back of the mat. Inhale the hands to the hips and lift the torso up, coming into high crescent lunge. Inhale to reach the arms up. Or, if you prefer, come into the mudra. And let's hold here for about 2 more cycles of breath. Right hip forward, left hip back. Maybe there's a bend in that right knee to keep the hips and the tailbone centered. From here, exhale to release the hands. Bring them down inside that front foot. Start to shift your back foot back and come into lizard. Now your variations of lizard are on your hands or on your elbows with that back knee lifted or back knee on the ground. If you want to do the arm balance, this time it's the left hand coming behind the left heel, lining that right hand up to match it, both forearms parallel, bending the elbows, lowering the left thigh and the right hip point onto the elbows, and then extending that left leg long, teetering the nose down, 8-limb arm balance. Inhale to push up, swing the left leg around, tabletop, and then walking the hands forward, tucking the toes in, take an inhale to prepare, exhale, downward facing dog. We'll hold here for about 2 cycles of breath. As a restorative pose, if it would feel good, another option is child pose. And then if you have chosen child pose, coming back up through either tabletop or down dog, you're going to inhale, lift the gaze towards the hands, and then slight bend in the knees, either step or light hop to the center of your mat. So feet are wide, toes maybe even off the mat, and then start to walk the hands closer back towards the feet. Exhale, release tension out of the back of the neck. Inhale, extend up long, and then exhale, soften the knees, bringing the palms either down to the mat in front of you or palms come off the floor, hands together, and pull them into heart center, lowering the hips down between the heels into low yogi squat. If your knees and hips aren't happy with that, you're going to go from your wide-legged forward fold, resting the forearms and the elbows on the thighs, and hang out here in a half squat. Whichever variation you have chosen, we're going to hang out here for about 2 more cycles of breath. Now, your next transition is going to come into a seated position. Now, if you're in a low yogi squat, you're really only a couple inches off the floor, so it's just building a little bit of trust to just release the arms, lower down, and come to a seat. If that's not for you, come back through a forward fold and then down to tabletop and swing your legs around. So now, from the seated position, you have your knees up. Bring your hands, maybe you grasp hands and wrists, maybe it's available for you to grasp elbows, whichever variation. You're going to take an inhale, lift the sternum up towards the knees, and then exhale, lower the forehead. And then inhale, lift the chin on, release the grasp with the elbows, and bring the hands long. Now, keeping that right knee bent, left leg is going to extend. We're going to go into a variation of boat pose, so I'll offer you again a lot of modifications from here. We're going to start by continuing to open up that right hip. So you are welcome to hang out right here and just do this seated wind releaser pose, or maybe you even want to take it into a twist. Otherwise, you're going to float the right foot up and maybe see if that right heel wants to go as high as the knee. And then start to kind of wiggle that hip and outer thigh out to the outer edges of your rib cage, bringing that knee up towards the armpit or shoulder, and maybe hands on the bottom of the foot. Hanging out here if you want, or bringing that right hand and arm inside the leg, and this time wrapping that hand around to grab the outer edge of the foot from underneath the calf. Now, you can hang out right here, or if you want to go into the variation of boat pose, you're going to keep the sternum lifted and just start to tilt back on your sits bones until you have the leverage to float that other leg. From there, if you want, maybe you reach that left arm out to the side, bringing the gaze towards the thumb, shoulder blade pulling down the back, and then hold here for about 2 more cycles of breath. And then as you exhale, you lower down and drop the foot to the floor. We're going to go through all of that again one more time on the right side. I'm going to offer you another bind. It's not going to be for everyone, so all of the same variations as the first time around. You can hang out here. You can float the foot and hang out here, and maybe this is even an option for you. Or you're going to start to bring that knee up. Maybe this is your variation. Or coming back with your hand wrapped. Or you can start to move that shoulder under the leg, bringing those fingertips up towards the knee, reaching the left hand back behind the head, and then your gaze comes behind the left upper arm, and you float from here with the bind. Keeping the sternum lifted, hold here for one more cycle of breath. And then exhale and release. Now, if you want, as we do the other side and you have a strap handy, you might want to have that for your right hand on the other side if you want to try that there. Inhaling to lower the foot down, extend the leg long on the exhale, and then this time the left leg comes in. So again, starting with that seated wind releaser pose, left thigh up against the left side of the abdomen. And right here is a wonderfully restorative and detoxifying pose. So hanging out here if this is what's best for you today. Next option is releasing that foot up and starting to lift the heel to about knee height, pulling the knee again back towards the armpit. So a one-legged seated happy baby. Other variation, left hand comes inside the left knee with the hands grasping the bottom of the foot, and then eventually starting to tilt back, inhaling, floating the right leg long, maybe release that right hand, bring it right straight out from that right shoulder, gaze on the thumb. Inhale again, and then exhale, float that back down, release the leg, and give it a hug. I'll show you the option with the strap on this side if you want to give it a try. Going through any of those variations, hugging it in, floating it up into that one-legged happy baby. Maybe you come into the same variation we just did, or this time you tuck that upper arm underneath the knee and calf, bringing the left hand closer to the left ear. And then if you want, the right hand's going to have the strap, swinging it around for the left hand. If you don't want the strap and you want to do the bind, you're grasping the hands behind and then pressing the back of the head into the upper and forearm to keep that neck in line with the spine. Hold here for one more breath. And then exhale, float it all down, release the leg and lower it down. Finding yourself centered on your mat so that you are in a position to lower yourself all the way down into a supine position on the mat. You can use the backs of the legs for leverage. You can keep your legs long and lower down using core strength, or you can float over to the side and release it all the way down. Once you're there, take a moment to feel the earth support you. Feel tension leave the body. Feel your breath. On your inhale, sliding one foot in towards your seat at a time, knees coming up towards the ceiling. Now I'm going to cue you to just float your hips gently, pressing into your feet, and then start to move your wrists and forearms under your sacrum and rest your hips down on your forearms. This is, for where we're going, this is going to be a protector for your low back. Once we get there and get started, if you realize that you don't want your hands there and you want to increase the challenge of your core strength without the hands, you're always welcome to remove them. On your inhale, you're going to just release the feet from the floor, start to float the knees up towards the chest. That could be one leg at a time or both together. And then extend the legs long. And now you're in legs up the wall with the hips supported. So legs are strong and long. Feet are firmly flexed as if the ceiling is falling on you and your feet and legs have to keep it off of your body. So engage the quadricep and the hamstring muscles, hug the femur, really engage those thigh muscles. Squeezing the inner thighs together, maybe even touching the heels together so that your toes point out in the letter V shape. You're going to inhale to prepare, and then as you exhale, your first option is to just lower down to about 60 degrees. Now, if right away you notice that your low back is very unhappy, you're going to come right back into the restorative legs up the wall pose. If you're coming into here and you're like, nope, need more challenge, that's where you release your hands. Take another inhale, exhale, lower down to about 45 degrees. Pulling the belly button towards the spine, take an inhale. Exhale, lower down to about 30 degrees. Take another inhale. Exhale, hover the heels over the floor. Now as you inhale, lift up to 30 degrees. Pause on your exhale. Inhale up to 45 degrees. Pause on the exhale. Inhale to 60 and pause. And then inhale, legs up the wall. From here, gently from side to side, lift the hips to release the forearms, and then exhale, pull the knees in towards your chest. We're going to go into a supine twist. You can do it from right here, or you can lower your feet down first. Either way, we're going to release the arms out from the shoulders. Take an inhale to prepare. And then as you exhale, either with the knees and the feet floating, lower them over to the right side, or with your feet on the floor. Move your knees to the right, and then move the chin towards the left. Supine twist. Right now might be an appropriate time for you to start to engage in your final resting pose. So closing your eyes might be appropriate. Lengthening your breath in and out might be appropriate. Releasing any residual tension from the body that you notice is still hanging on, that might be appropriate by directing your breath to that space. On your next inhale, float the knees up, either with the feet on the floor or the feet floating. And then exhale, lower the knees over to the left, chin comes over to the right, and melt here. Just taking one more full cycle of breath in and out. And then on your next inhale, chin comes to center, knees float up, and then exhale. If your feet are up, float them to the mat, and then extend the legs long. Taking up space, making yourself big to give those joints plenty of space to release and relax. So toes falling open, ankles relaxing, knees and hips releasing, upper arm bones and shoulders open to the ceiling. And then from there, just pivot from the elbow and lower the hands down to the floor. Your only movement, your only focus of attention is on the breath. Releasing tension out of the jaw and tongue, softening the muscles of the face, and settling your body onto the earth as you settle your mind on your breath. Hold there in final resting pose. Bringing our mind again to that topic of self-study, Svadhyaya. I will offer you a few intentions to further self-awareness, self-examination. My body helps me know what changes I need to make. My thoughts tell me where I need to rest my awareness to fulfill my purpose. My breath helps me to know the needs of myself. Remembering again, always, that our breath helps to guide us in our self-awareness and self-examination. Taking about 2 to 3 more cycles of breath, resting here for about 30 to 45 more seconds. And then as you are ready, on an inhale, start to just bring small movements back to the body. Starting with fingers and toes, wrists and ankles, and then letting the movement move into the limbs, maybe the shoulders. If it would feel good on a next inhale, lengthening the arms above the head, pointing the toes long, extending the body in a full lengthened stretch. And then exhale to roll over to one side. And pausing there in fetal pose for about a cycle of breath to acclimate. Whenever you're ready, inhaling to press up into seated. Hands can either be resting palms down on the legs, maybe the hands come to heart center, or we come back to the mudra, the meditation mudra with the right hand on top of the left, shoulders away from the ears. You can continue to work with the eyes closed if you choose. Feel your breath. Notice the physical sensations. Notice the quality of the mind. Take an inhale here through your nose, filling the belly. Exhale to gently lower the chin down. The eyes are closed. Blink them open to see the hands. And then release the mudra. Namaste.